G'day, my name is Mark and welcome to the Draktilian Deception How to Play video. Draktilian Deception is a two-player combat-based card and dice game where the player with the highest amount of Drakshar at the completion of the endgame is the winner. Now Drakshar is represented by this little token here, and this track is how you keep track of how much Drakshar you have during the game. So the first player to reach 21 Drakshar triggers the endgame, so long as their total wounds that they have will not reduce their endgame total to below 19. So for example, say I had 21 Drakshar and I announced the endgame. If I had 2 wounds at that time, then those 2 wounds would reduce my total back to 19, so I couldn't legitimately trigger the endgame, so I wouldn't be able to do that. But say an endgame has been triggered and it is legitimate, then that player would finish the rest of their turn, and then the opponent would have one last turn, and then both players would total their Drakshar, and the one with the highest would be the winner. So game setup begins with each player selecting a character. I've chosen Falcon as my character. Next, I grab 7 dice and place 4 of them next to my character card as my starting dice, and the remaining 3 get placed on my character card next to rank 3, 5 and 6. I then grab 3 Trooper Avatar tokens and place them next to rank 1, 2 and 4, and then finally I grab the 5 tracking tokens and place them at in these spots here, at the bottom of the wound track, the combat ability track, the command ability track, the rank track, and then finally the Drakshar tracker goes up above the track for the Drakshar. The next thing we need to do is set up the decks. So I grab the adversary deck, place it here and shuffle it. I do the same with the supply drop deck. And then finally I grab the objective deck and do the same thing. Now once that's set up like that, I need to populate the game board here. So I would grab 5 adversaries from the top and place them out on this track. It doesn't matter what position, it just needs to be 5 out there, and then 6 supply drop cards. I've got a little button here that lets me automatically do this, so I'll press that, and so now basically the game board has been populated with the adversaries and the supply drop cards. Now the game is now set up, ready to play. So before we can play, we need to choose a starting player, and then each player will get to choose an objective card. So to decide who's going to be first, we suggest you just grab the dice and roll them, and the one with the highest amount of attack icons, which is that gun, would become the first player, or the starting player if you like. If you don't want to use that method, you can use any other method you like to choose a starting player. Once you've chosen a starting player, that player then grabs the top card from the objective deck and takes it into their hand without allowing their opponent to see it. And then once they've done that, then the opponent takes one as well, and that becomes your starting objective card. And we'll talk more about objective cards as we go on. So that's basically the game setup. Now you're ready to start playing. Draktilian Deception is made up of turns. In a player's turn, there's a number of things they can do, but there are 2 things that have to be done right at the beginning. The first thing is that you must roll all inactive dice with the exception of reserve dice. Now we'll talk about reserve dice in a moment, but so the first thing that has to happen is you have to roll all inactive dice right up front. Then depending on what you roll, the second thing will come into play. That is, if you roll any counter-attack dice, then you must activate and carry out their action straight away. One of the things you're going to do a lot of in the game is activate dice. Now, the only dice that can be activated are inactive dice and reserve dice. To activate a dice, we simply grab it and we place it into our activation area and then carry out the action indicated on the face. We'll talk about actions in a little while. The other thing we can do is reserve a dice. So to reserve a dice, we would take it, place it into the reserve area, and then basically that can be activated either later in this turn or in a subsequent turn. And there is no limit to the amount of dice that you can reserve, only limited by the amount of inactive dice you have available. And there is no limit to how long you can have it reserved. There is one exception to reserving dice. You cannot reserve counter-attack dice at all. One of the things you may need to do in your turn is fix a dice. Now, to fix a dice, you are basically turning any dice face to another dice face. Say, for example, not this one, because you cannot fix a counter-attack dice. That is one of the exceptions. You cannot fix those. They have to be activated straight away. Say, for example, I didn't want this attack icon. I could change it to something else, but it would cost me 2 command ability. Now, in the moment here, I've got no command ability, so I would have had to get some command ability. So if I had 2 command ability, I would spend it and then turn that dice face to whatever face I wanted. There is no limit to the amount of dice that you can fix, with the exception, obviously, that you have to have the command ability to pay for it. So in this case, the maximum command ability you can have is 6. So the maximum you could actually fix is 3. One of the things you'll want to do a bit is re-roll dice. Now, you can only re-roll inactive dice or reserve dice, and you cannot re-roll counter-attack dice. To re-roll a dice, you simply pay in command ability. 1 command ability will allow you to re-roll all of your inactive dice, or 1 or 2 of them, or 1 if you want to. There's no limit there. One of the things you're going to want to do in your turn is purchase supply drop cards from the supply line. Now, to purchase a supply drop card, you need to pay the cost, which is indicated by the number in the top left-hand corner of the card. For example, this riot shield costs 2. Now, to pay for that, we can pay for it with either command ability, which is the star, or combat ability, or a combination of both. So, if we had, say, 1 combat ability and 1 command ability, well, we could spend 1 of each, and we've paid the 2 costs, so we would be able to purchase that card. That card would then go into our hand and would be able to be played in later turns, but you can't play it in the same turn as you purchased it, unless, of course, the card says otherwise. You can purchase as many supply drop cards as you can afford. So if you've got max combat and command ability, well, then you can purchase a few cards in the same turn. There's no limit there other than your command and combat ability you have available to spend. There is no limit to the amount of supply drop cards you can have in your hand, and there's no limit to the amount of supply drop cards of the same card you can purchase. There is one limit to how many of a card you can play, and that is indicated by a little diamond. I'll show you on this card here, the night vision goggles. See this diamond here? That means that this card can only be played when you have a trooper avatar out in play. So the maximum amount of trooper avatars you can have in the game are 3, and so the maximum you could play of these at one turn, as long as those avatars were out in play, is 3. During your turn, you're more than likely going to use your character's skill. So let's zoom in on Falcon. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see this is Falcon's skills. Now, the only skill that he has is the skill of reroll, but the difference between normal reroll and this reroll is that it's free. It can only be done once per turn, but it follows the same rules as reroll except that it's free. Something else you're going to do in your turn is activate rewards and card text. Let's have a look at an adversary. So when we defeat this character, we can choose on a subsequent turn, because you can't play it on the same turn as you defeat it, we can play it and gain these rewards. We would gain the rewards here and the game text. So when we play it, we would gain 5 Draktilian, 1 combat ability, and 1 modified attack, as well as we could select an opponent in the next turn they cannot target. So we would play this card, we'd get those rewards, and then we would put this card off to the side and use it as a counter, a double check for the Draktilian. So we couldn't play it again and get these rewards. These are a once-off reward. In the case of the game as card text for a supply drop card, this one here, we would get this reward here, which is a reroll, but we would get it every turn, because once this card is played, it remains in play for the whole game. So every turn we would be gaining a reroll because of this card. So some game text is played once and that's it, and other game text stays in play for the whole game. And lastly, in your turn you can heal wounds. So let's have a look at our character. So if we had a number of wounds, say we had 2 wounds, during our turn we can heal 1 wound for the cost of 3 combat ability. So in your turn, the maximum you can heal is if you had 6 combat ability, you can spend 6 combat ability and heal 2 wounds. So that's it for the turn summary. Now we're going to look at actions. Whenever you activate a dice, you trigger its action. Now there are 6 actions available on the dice. Let's look at the first one, which is target. Now this is our target action right here. Target actions are used to target adversaries. So let's say we wanted to target this particular adversary. Well, first of all, we would need to roll this icon. We would then activate it and then move one of our trooper avatars from here onto that space, that same target icon space on the adversary. At the beginning of the game, you don't actually have any available trooper avatars until you reach rank 1. Let's say we did. So let's say we had an available trooper avatar. We would roll this dice, we would activate it, move this token onto the target space on the adversary. Let's zoom in. And now this adversary is considered to be targeted by my character Falcon. Now, you don't have to stay targeted to that particular adversary. Anytime you roll one of these target icons, you can activate it and switch targets. Even if you had partially defeated a adversary, you could switch to another adversary. Say you wanted to target an adversary that was going to give you more Draktilian. So you would simply activate another target icon and then move your trooper avatar to the target space on the new adversary you want to target. So that's targeting. The next action we're going to look at is the attack action. And this is represented by the gun icon on the dice face. Attack actions are used to attack the adversary, as well as some other things in the game, but that mostly you'll use it to attack adversaries. And the reason why you know that you can attack an adversary is the icon that's represented on the dice face is also represented on the card face. So this is our targeted adversary we had before. So you can only attack targeted adversaries. And so this particular adversary has a health value of 3. 1, 2, and then off the card is 3. So we would move, as we attack, we would move this token up and then off the card. Once it's off the card, the adversary is defeated. And before you can actually attack an adversary, you need to make sure that you have enough attack value to penetrate its defenses. So this adversary has a defense value of 1, which is represented by the number in the right hand side number in the top left of the corner of the card. So his defense value is 1. In this case, we have rolled 1 attack icon, so we can penetrate his defenses, and then we would simply activate this dice, and then move our trooper avatar up 1 space on this adversary. If we had rolled 2 attack icons, or two dice had the attack face, then we can activate both of those and inflict 2 damage to the adversary. If we'd rolled 3, we could activate all 3 in 1 turn and defeat this character in 1 turn. If we'd had targeted, remember before what I had done was I switched targets. Let's say I had done 1 damage to this character, and I decided this one came out and I wanted to switch. So using the targeting, I switched targets to this one. The damage I've done to this particular adversary is lost. So if I wanted to retarget this one or switch targets back to this one, I would have to start from the beginning. But let's say I switched to this one. Now, this particular one has a defense value of 2, which means we would have to have rolled at least 2 or have 2 attack icons available to even to attack this adversary. Now, attack icons are not only available on dice face, they are also available on weapons. For example, this particular supply drop card had an attack icon on it, which would be added to your roll. So that is how you attack. The next action we're going to look at is command ability. Command ability is represented by the star icon on the dice face. You'll also notice that you have a track to keep track of your command ability on your character card. So if you'd rolled, say, 3 of these, you could then activate those 3 dice and increase your command ability by 3. If you'd rolled 1, then you would increase your command ability by 1. And you keep track of your command ability on this track. The next action we're going to look at is combat ability, and that's represented by this icon. You'll also notice you have a track on your character card. So as you activate these, you increase your combat ability by 1 per dice. So if we'd roll 1 icon, we'd activate that dice and then increase our combat ability by 1. The next action is rank, and this is represented by the stripes icon on the dice face and corresponds with this whole section on your character card. Now, there's 2 things that are 2 elements to this. Is to increase your rank, first of all, you need to roll and activate 1 of these dice. And the second part of it is, let's zoom in on the character, is these numbers here. So the number here above our current place is how much command ability we need to spend to increase in rank. So in this case, we need to spend 1 command ability to move to rank 1. So there's 2 parts. The icon, so you have to roll the icon and you have to spend the command ability. Say for example, we rolled 3 of these and we had 4 command ability. Well, we could activate 1 and move up 1, we'd spend 1. To move up to the next space, we would activate another another dice, and spend 2, because that number is 2. You see how that works? And so as we move up in rank, we get rewards for that. And the rewards are indicated on the right hand side of our current rank. So in this case here, rank 2 gets us another trooper avatar. Rank 3 gets us another dice to roll, which you can roll immediately. Rank 4 is another trooper avatar, and we get to choose another objective card, which gets added to it. So you don't have to swap the objective cards, you just get another one. Rank 5, you get another dice which you roll immediately, and you immediately get 2 Draktilian. And then finally, rank 6 gives us our 7th dice to roll, and a 3 Draktilian. And that's how rank works. The last action we're going to look at is the counterattack action, and that's represented by the grenade on the grenade icon on the dice face. And if you remember back in turn summary, we said that this particular icon, whenever you roll this icon, it has to be activated immediately. Now, counterattacks is a way for the game and the adversaries to attack you. So the only way the game can attack you is if you're already targeting adversaries. So if you, for example, we've got one adversary targeted here, we would look at its attack value, which is the top left-hand number on the card, and in this case it's a 1. So 1 is less than the defense value, so you wouldn't take any wounds from this instance. It doesn't matter how many of these icons you rolled, it's all about how many adversaries you have targeted. So let's say you had this one had been targeted before and you'd already had done some damage to it. So, and say we rolled one of these, we would look at the total attack value. So in this case, his attack value is 3 and his attack value is 1. So that gives us a total of 4. Compare that with our defense value of 2, and we are now over our defense value, so it's greater than our defense value. So we would take wounds based on how many icons, counter-attack icons we rolled. In this case, we roll 1, so we would take a wound for that attack against us, or that counter-attack, I should say, against us. So in summary, count the attack values of all adversaries you have targeted. If the total is higher than your character's defense value, you take wounds equal to the amount of counterattack icons you rolled. Now there are some cards in this supply drop card deck that will allow you to increase this value, as well as give you some further protection against counterattack. But that's how counterattack works. There are a number of special actions that usually come in the form of rewards. One of those is the modified attack, and you'll see that on this supply drop card here, the sniper rifle, the M50LS. You'll see there's an attack icon with a plus next to it. What that means is that for you to gain the extra attack that this rifle gives, you need to have also rolled or also have a non-modified attack. For example, an attack from a roll, like the attack from the icon on the dice, or from another card that is offering the same thing, which is like this card here gives you non-modified attack. So with this card, it's just as if you roll the attack dice. So in summary, the modified attack can only be used, or can only add an extra attack, if it is accompanied by another unmodified attack icon. Another special icon, action is on your character card. If we zoom into the character card, you'll see as your wounds increase, when you get to 5 wounds, you've got this action here, which is a -1 defense. So while you have 5 wounds, your defense value is -1. Now that stays in place until you lower your wounds by at least 1. The other special action is when you have 6 wounds, and that is a -1 dice. So if you're still rolling 4 dice, when you reach 6 wounds, you will have to roll 1 less dice. You'll only be rolling 3 in that case. Now that stays in place until you at least lower your wounds by 1. Now this is a cumulative thing in terms of these 2 special actions. While you're at 6 wounds, you not only have -1 dice to roll, but you also, your defense value is -1. So this still stays in play even though you've moved on to 6 wounds. And so that's those special actions. Well, that's it for our Draktilian Deception how to play video. Please like and share this video. Our Kickstarter will be coming soon, so jump on the Invented Games website and subscribe by leaving your email, and we'll notify you when the Kickstarter begins.